Hello, everyone. Your boy Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It, and I just got back from seeing The Lighthouse, starring Robert Pattinson, Willem Dafoe, directed by Robert Eggers, who also did The Witch. And yeah, it's crazy, y'all. It's crazy, and we'll get into it after the jump. Real quick before we get to the review, go ahead and like, share, subscribe to the channel, share the video, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you'll be one of the first to know. We are on that road to 100. So once we get to 100, we'll start doing some little giveaways and giving some stuff away. First 500 folks that become subscribers to the channel will be the founders of the place, and we'll do a whole thing for that as well. Now on to this review. If you don't know, Lighthouse is an independent flick from the director of The Witch, which came out in around 2015. It stars Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe as two lighthouse keepers who are put on a job on a mysterious island and left there remotely for an indescribable amount of time. What is supposed to be a set time ends up being extended. This movie is nuts. It's methodical. It's slow paced, which can go one way or the other depending on what your attention level is and what you're expecting from this film. So here are my likes. My likes are the performances. I think Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson knocked this out of the park. For this essentially to be a two-man play, there is never a moment that I, as a viewer, felt bored or tired. I think there are some, and this will go into sort of the dislikes, but I think there may be some issues of pacing if these two folks weren't performing. They are so captivating that even when it was a little bit of a slow moving moment, I still wanted to see what was going to happen next because of what they were giving me on the screen. Willem Dafoe is practically unrecognizable in his performance. Like, obviously you can tell it's Willem, but in his performance, it's nuts. And Robert Pattinson, anybody who thought that Robert Pattinson couldn't be Bruce Wayne Batman, see this movie. See what this guy is doing nowadays, as opposed to just judging it by Twilight. I think you'll be surprised. This man is about to do some massive work, and he's fantastic in this. Two, I think the directing and the composition of scenes, black and white is genius for this, but the composition of scenes and the directing make this feel so claustrophobic, which is the point of this. You're supposed to feel claustrophobic, isolated. This is a film about the descent into sanity or lack thereof. And I think the way this is shot, the way you get close on shots, the way you're doing black and white, the way everything feels real gritty and lived in, as also so tight, and you feel like you are in these close quarters with these folks being on top of each other for a long period of time. It just makes you feel uncomfortable, and you kind of want to, you can't turn, it's like how people watch rubbernecking at accidents, or you can't turn your eye or look away from it because you're like, this makes me feel a little weird. I don't think I should be this close to what's happening, but I'm going to stick with it. Give me more. And that's what they do, and they do a really good job of it. The third thing, and I think this happened a little bit with us this year, when you have films that when it is said and done, you can have a discussion, you can talk, and there are multiple things that you can get out of it, multiple meanings. It may not mean to you what it means to someone else. That happens a lot with parables or Aesop's fables, where they tell you the story and then you kind of mine from it what it is you think. And I think that's happening with The Lighthouse. There is no direct, this is what this means, this is what this is in this film. It's kind of, you interpret it as you want. And I dig that sometimes with films. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, but I dig that. And so this creates a discussion. Like, I remember leaving us, and people were just standing in the lobbies having conversations. That doesn't happen so much with this because it's more of an independent film, and there's just less people seeing this movie. But I do think that this is a conversation starter. Have you seen The Lighthouse? Yes. Cool. What was this to you? And I think if you're a film person, it's a great thing to have at parties to discuss what this movie is and is not, or what you think it is, and to hear what other people sound off about it for. Here are my dislikes. Not very many. And mine are more tangent on an overall audience, not how I viewed it. The pacing is a little slow. And what's weird, it doesn't bother me because I am a film person. I'll sit in it. But there were at the first act of this film was they were doing the groundwork of setup for these characters to learn about each other before we break off into sanity. There were moments when I was like, okay, all right, we need to move it along just a bit. And then once we have them in there and they started, once alcohol is introduced into both characters' lives, it makes the film flip and you're kind of like, okay, now I'm in and now I wanted to see this. And to the point where I wish I had paid, I wish I wasn't checking out a little bit at the beginning. Even though I got everything, I wish I wasn't checking out at the beginning because I think that the level of what Robert Pattinson's character was presenting versus what he actually was once alcohol kind of removes that ability to shield, I think would have been a better read had I not. So pacing can be an issue. I just think if you stick with it, if you go from start to finish and you kind of pay attention, drink a Red Bull, drink some tea, do something, but just focus, I think you'll be happy. But I can understand for the general audience, the pacing for this is going to be a little rough. 2, while I think it's good, some people have complained that there is not a clarity of message. Whereas some people I want you to tell me what this movie is. I want you to give me this, this, and this. This movie doesn't quite do that. There is a message, and then the director's probably one day going to tell you what his vision was, but I think what happens in this movie allows you to interpret many different points of view. Third, and the final thing that I think I dislike, and it's weird. This happens for movies like Requiem for a Dream, it happens for Passion of the Christ. There are some movies that I can watch once and I never want to see again. Not because it's a bad movie, just because it's so intense and so draining and emotionally draining that there is no, I don't think there's any, this is weird because I don't want to say this because it's not a bad movie, but there's no value for me to go back through this road again. Like, I've seen the road, I've been there, I don't need to revisit it. Where there's some films like I want to pop it in all the time or I want to have it on in the background. This isn't one of those movies, and so therefore it loses a little bit in the steam of saying, if someone asks me like, oh, what did you think of the Lighthouse? I was like, oh man, Lighthouse is great. I don't know if you should see it because I would have to kind of get a read of who the person I'm talking to. I can recommend this movie for everybody, and then there are parts where I just think it's so uncomfortable, especially if you're dealing with people with sanity, lack thereof, or sanity issues, or mental stability issues, that I don't know if this is a film you want to go through that breakdown for. So my overall rating on the give me a time zone so I'll never have to see this movie again, Once Is Enough, or Play It Again, Sam. This is going to be the Once Is Enough, but not because I think it's not a Play It Again, Sam level of film. It is. This movie should be seen by everybody. I just don't want to see it again. And it's a weird thing because Once Is Enough usually means that it's just an okay film. I think this is a really good film, just a really good film that I can only digest one time. That's it for me. What did you guys think about the movie? Have you seen it? If you haven't, like I said, I suggest you go watch it once and give some feedback in the comments below. Let me know what you think about it. What does it do for you? Leave your comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. We also have an email. You can email us at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We have a podcast by the same name that goes on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that plays podcasts. We are there. This last episode, we talked about the pilot for Watchmen, and this weekend, we get to see what Arnold and Linda Hamilton are doing with Terminator. But like always, I got my ticket. You got yours?